The story opens with high school student Yuji Itadori waking up in a dimly shaded room while strapped with the chair, facing an imminent secret execution. When he calls for deliberation, the blindfolded man informs him that all his efforts to call for Fushiguro are futile, since his execution is now imminent. It turns out that the blindfolded man is Satoru Gojo, who claims himself as the first-tier head of Jujutsu Tech. Moving back to yesterday, Yuji stands in his house. He calls to the hospital to check on his grandfather. However, the grandfather rather pressures him to focus in his school activities than to calling for him. That night, Jujutsu Tech student Megumi Fushiguro visits Sugisawa High to retrieve a cursed object but fails. He contacts Satoru Gojo, who insists he can't return without the object. At Yuji's occult club, the student council president threatens its closure. Yuji, Iguchi, and Sasaki mention supernatural occurrences affecting students on the rugby field. The president dismisses it as tick-related, but Yuji, not officially registered, is approached by the track coach for help in conquering nationals. They agree to a throwing competition, where Yuji astonishes everyone by setting a new world record. Megumi, still searching for the cursed object, notices cursed energy emanating from Yuji. As Yuji rushes to the hospital, Megumi plans to confront him. In the hospital, Yuji's grandfather urges him to use his gifts to save others before passing away. Filled with sadness after his grandfather's death, Yuji mourns, packs his things, and completes paperwork. Megumi confronts him in the hospital, demanding the cursed object. Yuji hands over an empty box, revealing that his friends in the occult club possess the actual object. Megumi warns that removing the seal could lead to their deaths. At Sugisawa High, Sasaki and Iguchi unwrap the seal, discovering a finger, unleashing curses. Yuji, concerned about his friends, arrives at school. Megumi, advising him to stay behind, battles curses using his jujutsu and divine dogs to save students. As curses multiply, Yuji crashes in through the window to rescue his friends. Megumi, realizing he won't make it in time, summons divine dogs to devour curses. Yuji, after saving students, asks about Megumi's Shikigami. As Megumi tries to capture Ryomen Sukuna's finger, a curse attacks. Yuji intervenes, gaining Sukuna's power. Despite initial control concerns, Yuji defeats the curse, suppressing Sukuna's influence. Megumi prepares to expel the cursed energy from Yuji using a Shikigami. Deciding to exorcise Yuji, Megumi raises his Kikufuki, but Yuji claims control and suggests going to the hospital. Before Megumi responds, their sensei, Satoru Gojo, arrives. Megumi reveals that Yuji consumed Sukuna's finger. Gojo examines Yuji and confirms their combination. He tests Yuji's control by asking him to switch to Sukuna for 10 seconds. Yuji complies, allowing Sukuna to attack, but Gojo effortlessly dodges and counters, showcasing his skills. As Sukuna attempts a finishing move, Gojo repels the attack and counts down the final seconds until Yuji regains control. Gojo decides to knock Yuji out and reveals the elder's decision to execute him. However, Gojo successfully pleads for a stay of execution. Yuji is bound in a room filled with seals, and Gojo presents two options: immediate execution or becoming a jujutsu sorcerer, consuming all 20 fingers, and then facing execution. Yuji chooses the latter. Later, Yuji visits Sasaki and Iguchi in the hospital, blaming himself for their condition. He assures Sasaki that a sorcerer will come to help Iguchi. Outside, Yuji meets Gojo, asking about curse casualties. Gojo explains that people are fortunate to die a normal death after encountering a curse. They head to the morgue, where Yuji collects his grandfather's ashes and swallows the second finger. Yuji, seemingly struggling with Sukuna's influence, surprises Gojo by revealing that he is merely disgusted by the taste of the finger and can control Sukuna. Determined to learn how to fight curses and collect Sukuna's fingers, Yuji decides to join Jujutsu Tech. Accompanied by Gojo, they head to the mountain where the school is located, cleverly disguised as a religious private school. Before being accepted into the school, Yuji undergoes an interview with the principal, Masamichi Yaga. During the interview, Sukuna threatens Gojo, but Gojo welcomes the challenge. The principal, dissatisfied with Yuji's answers, uses cursed puppets to attack him, aiming to make Yuji understand himself better. Yuji, facing the attacks, expresses his determination to stop Sukuna and live a life without regrets. Impressed with his answer, Principal Yaga accepts Yuji into the school. Gojo takes Yuji to his dorm and asks if he's ready to fight. They encounter Megumi, who is disappointed that Yuji will be living nearby. Gojo announces their plan to pick up the third first-year student, Nobara Kugisaki, from Mirioka Station the next day. Nobara Kugisaki arrives in Tokyo, looking for Saori. There she meets Megumi and Yuji at the train station in Harajuku, and they discuss the rarity of jujutsu students in their class while Gojo arrives, complimenting Yuji on his new uniform, and they wait for Nobara. She arrives, and after confronting a man at the station, introduces herself, expressing her belief that the boys are fortunate to have her in their group. Gojo takes the group to an abandoned building near a cemetery infested with curses. Nobara feels uneasy upon learning about Yuji swallowing Sukuna's finger. Gojo reveals that this is their first test, and hands Yuji a knife named Slaughter Demon, instructing him not to use Sukuna's power. Inside the building, Nobara, displaying a brash attitude, orders Yuji to go downstairs while she goes upstairs. As Yuji is confused by her behavior, a cursed spirit attacks from above. Yuji, restricted from using Sukuna's power, quickly dispatches the curse with his cursed tool. Meanwhile, Gojo reflects on testing the limits of Yuji and Nobara's abilities, believing that a necessary amount of craziness is required to become an effective sorcerer. Nobara faces a cursed corpse and pierces its face with her hammer and nails. Nobara, undeterred from the lurking curses, confronts the situation with bravery. She contemplates sacrificing the boy to save herself, but decides to surrender instead. As she thinks about her friend Saori in what she believes to be her final moments, Yuji bursts through the wall and rescues the boy from the curse. Nobara uses her straw doll technique on the severed arm, successfully exorcising the curse. Nobara shares her motivation for enrolling in Jujutsu Tech, revealing that her friend Saori was ostracized by her village for being from Tokyo. Nobara expresses her hope to meet Saori again and thanks Yuji for his assistance. Meanwhile, at the reward dinner, Nobara tasks Yuji with retrieving her belongings from her coin locker in Harajuku, and despite his reluctance, she persistently insists. In the following month, the 3 Jujutsu students are summoned to exorcise a cursed womb, but tragically, one of them loses their life during the mission. Kiyotaka Ijichi leads first years Yuji, Megumi, and Nobara to a detention center housing a cursed womb. Inside detainee block 2, 5 detainees could spawn a special grade cursed spirit. Ijichi briefs on encountering a special grade, run or die. The mission is to rescue survivors, including a distressed mother's son. Yuji insists on saving everyone. Ijichi sets a curtain barrier, concealing them. Megumi summons divine dogs to warn of approaching curses. In a curse's domain, panic sets in, but Megumi is confident. They find trapped bodies. Yuji locates Tadashi, the distressed woman's son. Megumi refuses to save him, deeming him a detainee. Yuji questions Megumi's earlier rescue. Nobara intervenes, but a curse drags her away. Megumi realizes his divine dogs are dead. A special cursed spirit appears, paralyzing them. Yuji attacks, losing a hand and breaking the knife. Nobara is in a strange area surrounded by masks. Megumi, using Nue, searches for her. Yuji, facing the spirit alone, asks Sukuna for help. Megumi saves Nobara, rushes to Yuji, who is overwhelmed. Megumi saves Nobara from curses. Yuji, on the brink of death, taps into negative emotions, realizing he can use them in his fist. Yuji charges the spirit with a cursed energy-reinforced fist, buying time for Megumi to escape with Nobara. The special grade catches Yuji's punch, but Megumi signals through his divine dog that Yuji can unleash Sukuna. Megumi, outside with Ijichi, asks for a grade 1 sorcerer's help and pledges to handle Yuji if Sukuna's rampage persists. Sukuna takes control, planning retaliation. He attempts to revert the situation, but the special grade attacks, refusing to cooperate. Sukuna halts the assault, healing Yuji's arm, deeming the curse's chosen death. Sukuna dominates, showcasing real jujutsu with a domain expansion. Malevolent Shrine, slicing the curse and reclaiming his finger. Irritated at being used, Sukuna demands control, but Yuji remains silent. Sukuna laughs, realizing Yuji can't switch back. Megumi notices the cursed womb's domain has vanished and awaits Yuji, but Sukuna appears, revealing Yuji won't return. Blaming Yuji for overusing powers, Sukuna rips out Yuji's heart, taking full control. Megumi asserts Yuji will switch back, even at the cost of his life. Sukuna strengthens control by consuming another finger, ready to kill Megumi. Megumi plans to force Sukuna to heal Yuji's heart, noting Sukuna's use of reverse cursed technique with his healed arm. Megumi summons Nue, engaging Sukuna in close combat. Sukuna toys with him until Megumi deploys Orochi, attacking from the air. Sukuna destroys the Great Serpent and hurls Megumi without exerting power. Overwhelmed, Megumi releases Nue. Sukuna admires Megumi's techniques, asking why he fled the cursed womb. Megumi recalls his unfair treatment and father's abandonment, rejecting karma for unequal justice based on personal convictions. Saving Yuji wasn't heroism, it was sorcery. Yuji, listening, regains control, collapses from wounds, and urges Megumi to live. In Tokyo, 4 figures discuss a sorcerer testing Sukuna's strength, spawning the special grade curse. They enter a cafe, the man standing out despite cursed company. Meanwhile, Gojo meets Ijichi in the school morgue. Gojo suspects Yuji was set up by higher-ups, sent on a dangerous mission intentionally. Frustrated, he threatens the higher-ups' lives. School doctor Shoko Larry arrives, surprised by Gojo's emotions. She requests permission to dissect Yuji's body, and Gojo urges her to make good use of him. Megumi and Nobara, grieving Yuji's death, sit together on the stairs. Second-year Jujutsu students find them sulking. Maki asks about their gloominess, and Panda reveals Yuji's death, noting Maki's cold response. Toge adds humor, referencing tuna and mayo. Megumi introduces Maki Zenin, Toge Inumaki, and Panda, mentioning another absent second year, Yuta Okotsu. Nobara is annoyed by Panda's lack of detail. Panda apologizes for Maki's bluntness and invites them to the Kyoto Sister School Exchange event. With third years suspended, Tokyo High needs more participants. The second years explain the event, a sorcerer battle between schools. For Yuji's sake, the first years agree to participate. Meanwhile, an unknown sorcerer and cursed spirits plan to gain dominance over humans. They discuss defeating Jujutsu sorcerers, targeting Satoru Gojo, and making Sukuna an ally. They assume Yuji is dead, but the sorcerer remains unsure. Inside Yuji's residual soul, Sukuna observes. Sukuna sits on a mountain of skulls in his mind, warning Yuji not to look up without permission. As she gets the better of Yuji, Sukuna explains they're in a suspended state within his mind and proposes a deal to fix Yuji's heart. Conditions. Sukuna can use Yuji's body with a key phrase, and Yuji will forget this conversation. Yuji refuses the conditions blatantly, skeptical of Sukuna's promise. Sukuna emphasizes Jujutsu promises unbreakability and offers a death match to decide Yuji's resurrection. Yuji agrees, and Sukuna instantly bisects his head. Gojo meets Ijichi, acknowledging his inadequacy as a teacher. He also cites Okotsu and Hikari's potential, and mourns Yuji's loss, seeing him as a match for himself. Shoko prepares to dissect Yuji, but he miraculously revives. Gojo, elated, high-fives him and instructs Shoko to record Yuji as deceased to prevent further attacks. In a diner with sorcerer Suguru Geto and cursed spirits, a waiter senses danger. Jogo, a volcano-cursed spirit, queries killing Gojo. Geto suggests sealing him with a special-grade cursed object, Prison Realm. The waiter flees sensing danger, and others spontaneously combust. Jogo plans to take Prison Realm and kill Gojo in retaliation. At Jujutsu High, Megumi trains and seeks Maki's advice on using weapons alongside. He realizes he can store cursed tools in his own shadow. Gojo, in his training with Yuji, explains the distinction between cursed energy and a cursed technique using cans. While Yuji thinks he's learning a new technique, Gojo emphasizes the importance of controlling negative emotions. Yuji's training involves channeling cursed energy into a doll while watching emotionally charged movies. As Yuji trains, Gojo heads to a meeting with the principal of Kyoto Jujutsu High. On the way, Gojo confronts Jogo on the freeway. Upon surviving, Gojo notes Jogo as an unregistered special grade curse and emphasizes the rarity of special grades. Jogo attacks with ember insects, but Gojo stops them and appreciates the two-step attack. Jogo strikes with flaming attacks and a kick, thinking he has won, but none affect Gojo. Frustrated, Jogo questions what's happening. Gojo reveals he touched only the infinity between them.